A man secluded from society decides to take his skills of being an inventor and test other humans to find a worthy successor. And those who fail the test of character are, of course, removed. Now that could be a bunch of things, but today it's Willy Wonka. Now I understand in the framing this might sound like, I don't know, maybe the Saw series, but I've brought you today a fun little theory that Willy Wonka is Saw for children. And of course, Jigsaw and Willy Wonka go pretty deep with each other on the way that they work. And I'm here to prove to you today that Willy Wonka might have inspired Saw. But with chocolate and torture aside, it's time to listen to Mom. In 1964, Roald Dahl's book, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, was published, later to be adapted to film for Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, and Willy to be played by Gene Wilder. Gene Wilder's entire premise in the character was specifically to make the viewer question what is real and what isn't. The iconic opening scene of Willy coming out with the cane and then immediately somersaulting and standing up and being a showboat is specifically put in to make you question what is real and what isn't inside Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. But all of the characters are then paraded through the factory, each with their own test specifically put together for each of the characters, because Willy knew specifically what each character was prone to abuse and how to encourage them to do the things they weren't supposed to do. Each individual character, even Charlie, met a fate of a little bit of whatever their hubris was. Augustus gets sucked up a pipe after falling into a chocolate river, and of course, he is the gluttonous one, and so he expected him to try to eat all of the chocolate from the river. Violet chews a piece of experimental gum and swells up into a giant human. Blueberry, as she is addicted to all of the different gums and chewing items. Veruca falls down a garbage chute in the egg room out of greed and hopes to try to acquire something she doesn't have. And Mike TV is of course shrunk down to the size of a chocolate bar after misusing the Wonka Vision teleporter. So, an eccentric creator, inventor, lures people to his place to then put them into situations where they are known to fail, to watch them fail, and eliminate them. It sounds a lot like Jigsaw. And it doesn't really stop there. If you start considering the undertones of the entire original Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory with Gene Wilder, you'll notice that there's a lot of scenes that are specifically a little spooky, especially for what is supposed to be, or at least framed to be, as a child's movie. There is actually an entire scene that was specifically not even told to the cast of how it was going to go. The ever so famous boat scene where the boat goes down the chocolate tunnel is actually a scene that was not informed to the children or anybody else what was actually about to happen. So when you start to see the fear on the faces of all the people looking around as the boat continues to go faster and Gene Wilder begins to spout out just an eccentric monologue, that is actual fear, because all of the people on the boat just thought they were going to go through a small little tunnel and just pop out the other side. The entire undertones of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory is that it's kind of a horror movie where it's torturing children for their different greeds, sins, and it's almost a bit of an allegoric tale. Very similar to the entire premise of the Saw series. The entire Saw series takes people who, of course, are not good people and has given them a chance to redeem themselves by essentially playing a game, a trial, and of course going through and testing themselves at their greatest greeds, their greatest weaknesses, to come out on the other side a new person. And you could argue the fact that in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, Charlie is doing the same thing. He is of course a person who is obsessed with the idea of chocolates and of course turning around his family. And so it's a bit of the idea that he is a person who wants to see his family get outside of where they've been. And of course, all of us are a little bit guilty of that. We want to see more for our family. The difference is Charlie gets the golden ticket, and even though he does technically fail his own challenge, Willy Wonka does end up seeing that he might be the right person for the job. Both Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory and Saw are both cautionary tales. The entire premise behind the fact that there is one person that can come in and force the people to have to rethink the way they've been approaching their life by putting them through trials and, of course, ultimately attempting to give them a chance at retribution. And much like the standard human complex, we're usually set up to fail because most people are afraid of changing who they are, thinking that they're already doing everything that they should be. And both Saw and Willy Wonka really point out those facts. Willy Wonka in a bright and colorful, yet a little dark way, and of course, and Saw, one of the original gore porns for what it really is. Major differences, of course, that Saw ultimately has 10 different movies, and well, actually more. And Willy Wonka has been fine with, I think, 4. We've got Willy Wonka, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and then we've got the one with Timothy Chalamet, and finally, one of my favorite Willy Wonka sequels, Snowpiercer, where Willy Wonka builds a train to fight global warming and ends up enslaving a bunch of people on a giant train. But that's a conversation for another time.